The Code of the Woosters by P G Wodehouse. Chapter 1. I reached out a hand from under the blankets and rang the bell for Jeeves. Good evening, Jeeves. Good morning, sir. This surprised me. Is it morning? Yes, sir. Are you sure? Seems very dark outside. There's a fog, sir, if you will recollect. We are now in autumn, seasons of mists and mellow fruitfulness. Seasons of what? Mists, sir, and mellow fruitfulness. Oh, yes, I see. Well, be that as it may, get me one of those braces of yours, will you? I have one in readiness, sir. In the icebox. He shimmered out, and I sat up in bed with that rather unpleasant feeling you get sometimes that you're going to die in about 5 minutes. On the previous night, I'd given a little dinner at the Drones to Gussie Fink Noddle, as a friendly send-off before his approaching nuptials with Madeline, only daughter of Sir Watkin Bassett, C.B.E. And these things take their toll. Indeed. Just before Jeeves came in, I had been dreaming that some bounder was driving spikes through my head, not just ordinary spikes as used by Jael, the wife of Heber, but red-hot ones. He returned with the tissue restorer. I loosed it down the hatch, and after undergoing the passing discomfort unavoidable when you drink Jeeves's patent morning revivers, of having the top of the skull fly up to the ceiling and the eyes shoot out of their sockets, and rebound from the opposite wall like racquetballs, felt better. It would have been overstating it to say that even now Bertram was back again in mid-season form, but I had at least slid into the convalescent class and was equal to a spot of conversation. Ha! I said, retrieving the eyeballs and replacing them in position. Well, Jeeves, what goes on in the great world? Is that the paper you have there? No, sir. It is some literature from the Travel Bureau. I thought that you might care to glance at it. Oh, I said. You did you? And there was a brief and, if that's the word I want, pregnant silence. I suppose that when two men of iron will live in close association with one another, they are bound to be occasional clashes, and one of these had recently popped up in the Wooster home. Jeeves was trying to get me to go on a round-the-world cruise, and I would have none of it. But in spite of my firm statements to this effect, scarcely a day passed without him bringing me a sheaf or nosegay of those illustrated folders, which the Hoe for the Open Space birds sent out in hope of drumming up custom. His whole attitude recalled irresistibly to the mind that of some assiduous hound who will persist in laying a dead rat on the drawing-room carpet, though repeatedly apprised by word and gesture that the market for same is sluggish, or even non-existent. Jeeves, I said, this nuisance must now cease. Travel is highly educational, sir. I can't do with any more education. I was full up years ago. No, Jeeves. I know what's the matter with you. That old Viking strain of yours has come out again. You yearn for the tang of the salt breezes. You see yourself walking the deck in a yachting cap. Possibly someone has been telling you about the dancing girls of Bali. I understand, and I sympathize, but not for me. I refuse to be decanted into any blasted, ocean-going liner lugged off round the world. Very good, sir. He spoke with a certain, in his voice, and I could see that if not actually disgruntled, he was far from being gruntled, so I tactfully changed the subject. Well, Jeeves, it was quite a satisfactory binge last night. Indeed, sir. Oh, most. An excellent time was had by all. Gussie sent his regards. I appreciate the kind thought, sir. I trust Mr. Finknottle was in good spirits. Extraordinarily good, considering that the sands are running out, and that he will shortly have Sir Watkin Bassett for a father-in-law. Sooner him than me, Jeeves, sooner him than me. I spoke with strong feeling, and I'll tell you why. A few months before, while celebrating boat race night, I had fallen into the clutches of the law for trying to separate a policeman from his helmet, and after sleeping fitfully on a plank bed, had been hauled up at Berkshire Street next morning and fined 5 of the best. The magistrate who had inflicted this monstrous sentence, to the accompaniment, I may add, of some very offensive remarks from the bench, was none other than old Pop Bassett, father of Gussie's bride-to-be. As it turned out, I was one of his last customers, for a couple of weeks later he inherited a pot of money from a distant relative and retired to the country. That, at least, was the story that had been put about. My own view was that he had got the stuff by sticking like glue to the fines. 5 quid here, 5 quid there. You can see how it would mount up over a period of years. You have not forgotten that man of wrath, Jeeves. A hard case, eh? Possibly Sir Watkin is less formidable in private life, sir. I doubt it. Slice him where you like. A hellhound is always a hellhound, but enough of this, Bassett. Any letters today? No, sir. Telephone communications? One, sir, from Mrs. Travers. Aunt Dahlia? She's back in town, then? Yes, sir. She expressed a desire that you would ring her up at your earliest convenience. I will do even better, I said cordially. I will call in person. And half an hour later, I was toddling up the steps of her residence and being admitted by old Seppings, her butler, little knowing, as I crossed that threshold, that in about 2 shakes of a duck's tail I was to become involved in an imbroglio that would test the Wooster soul, as it had seldom been tested before. I allude to the sinister affair of Gussie Finknottle, Madeline Bassett, old Pop Bassett, Stiffy Bing, the Reverend H.P. Stinker Pinker, the 18th century cow creamer, and the small brown leather-covered notebook.